What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for some more transfer targets. Now we're going to be focusing on the right wing. We've got 7 players to bring to you today, and we're going to start off with Takefusa Kubo of Real Sociedad. 60 million market value, 22 years of age, has been deployed as a right winger and on the odd occasion an attacking midfielder for Sociedad this season. 7 goals and 3 assists in their colours this year. A very tricky customer, Japanese international. There are maybe question marks in terms of his physicality. Can he take to the Premier League? But nonetheless, he is a supremely gifted footballer.
Yeah, and he's one, I think, Real Madrid had him earlier in his career.
And Barca.
And Barca. He was very much touted as a guy with a lot of potential. Didn't quite make the grade at either of those, and has now found a home at Real Sociedad and has performed really, really impressively this season. It's really starting to explode a bit. Still only 22 years of age. Obviously, his short stature gives him this really good low centre of gravity, which makes him very, very difficult to kind of pick up. But as you say, he's 5'7", so a bit on the smaller side. And we've seen with wingers in the Premier League, especially in Tottenham's first-hand experience in Bryan Hill, that sometimes they can struggle. But I think what he does have is definitely a lot more technical ability and star quality than someone like Bryan Hill does. In terms of how he profiles on the wing, extremely effective dribbler, as you can see, performs really well there. Key passes as well, 89th percentile, so does create a lot of chances. Doesn't maybe get too many passes and crosses into the box, but definitely gets into the full positions to receive the ball, which is really good. Shot creating actions above average, pretty high as well. But his assists not the best, and his non-penalty actually and expected assists are fairly average. But obviously a really effective dribbler and definitely can create chances. So I think profile-wise, there's not too much not to like with him, I feel.
I've always found him really exciting when watching him, but maybe we need to see him do it, maybe more regularly, because he's got a fair number of goal contributions this year, but it needs to be stepped up a notch if he's going to, be a success here at Tottenham, in my opinion. But he's still very young. He is still very
22.
young. Next up, we're going to talk about Wilfried Gnonto of Leeds. Obviously, they didn't come up and they lost in the Championship final, but he's had an absolute stellar season for Leeds this year. 20 years of age, 16 million market value, can play a variety of different positions as well. And yeah, he's just smashed it out this year for Leeds.
Yeah, he's been pretty good. I think 8 goals, 2 assists in 36 games for Leeds this season. Not quite as good as Somerville, but obviously a player who really burst onto the scene last season in the Premier League and went through a run where he was literally getting goal contributions every week and seemed that he was really going to explode. I think he's been pretty good in the Championship on the right-hand side. He's similar height to Kubo, but what I like about him, he's got that a bit more physical presence. He's very, very strong, a bit like a bulldog. And I think he profiles fairly decently as well, with decent dribbling numbers, chance creation also quite good when it comes to shot creating actions and the positions he gets in terms of the good quality chances. Also quite decent as well. Maybe 8 goals in the Championship is good, but we saw Somerville get a lot more than that, so not quite on that level, but has been a lot better in the Premier League.
The difference from Gnonto and Somerville, Gnonto actually started the season with a few injury problems, and he took a while to get back to grips and really recover from that injury. He was playing a lot from the bench in that time, and then from February onwards, he just kicked on and absolutely smashed it. So maybe injuries do have a part to play in those stats.
Yeah, I did like him in the Premier League. I thought he was performing very, very well, albeit he kind of started like a house on fire, then kind of died down a bit towards the end of the season.
He's only 20.
He's still very young as an Italian international, isn't he now? So clearly they rate him very highly. So I think he's a potential to look at as well.
And another player that can play right wing, left wing, and potentially up front as well. I really think he's an exciting prospect, and I'd be happy if Spurs were to go for him, to be fair. I really would. Next up, we're going to talk about Bryan Mbeumo of Brentford, 24 years of age, 38 million market value. He's a player that's just been progressing year on year, has had his injury problems this year, which has hampered him a bit, but Brentford have got better since he's returned to the team.
And also he plays in a system where Brentford very much focuses on transitioning, get into positions where you exploit the space left by the opposition. very different style of play to what he's going to be used to at Spurs. A bit like Brennan Johnson, might take a few months to kind of get used to that. Whereas like he's used to running into acres of space and take advantage of that. He's going to have to get used to players being in front of him and having to take him on. And what he does have is a very good left foot. And I think he's got really good quality. I think he's had a really good season for Brentford when he's been available. Obviously, he did have an injury. How he profiles, what we can see here, dribbling quite low, but again, he doesn't dribble that much for Brentford. He's usually running into space. His passes and chance creation, again, not the best, but usually, again, he's much more of a goal scorer than he is at creating opportunities for his teammates. He definitely usually gets into the final third and looks to get a shot off a lot of the time, and I think that bears out when you look at his non-penalty XGA is quite high, and I think he does get into a lot of good goal scoring positions, and it actually rates quite highly for assists. So it means that although he doesn't create that many chances, usually when he does, they're quite good quality, and he does have quality in him. So I do think he could adapt fairly well. There are obviously some question marks, and it would take a bit of an adaptation period, but I do like his quality, and I think he's improved year on year in the Premier League as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But you do feel like with someone like him and maybe potential other players that we're going to speak about on this list, because he's coming from a Premier League club, he's probably going to demand maybe a bigger fee than what we could get for maybe someone of a similar quality from outside the Premier League.
Obviously, if Tony's leaving, that also lessens the need to sell Mbeumo as well.
Exactly. But let's talk about the next player, and this player really excites me. His name's Johan Bakayoko, 21 years of age, of PSV, 40 million market value. And I think he could be potentially the perfect player for us. I think, his dribbling ability is unbelievable. He's a bag of box of tricks as well. He knows when to pull the trigger, when to shoot. He's so dangerous in every facet of the attacking phase of the game. I remember watching him against Arsenal for PSV in the Champions League this year, and they just found it so hard to deal with him. He's just such an unbelievable talent. And yes, he is playing in the Dutch league as well at the moment, so maybe the stats could be skewed a bit, and maybe it will be very different coming up against English opposition week in, week out. But that game against Arsenal proved to me, I think, that he can do it in the Premier League.
Yeah, 12 goals and 9 assists this season in the Eredivisie, so very impressive season. 21 years of age. I do wonder, I'm sure he's in the squad for Belgium, right, in the Euros. I have no doubt. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm just assuming he is. I do wonder if he has a really good tournament, what that would mean for his price tag, because he could be on the brink of having a very big tournament for them if he does start regularly. As you can see here, I mean, obviously he is in the Dutch league, but the pie chart speaks for itself. Absolutely top of every single metric. He's absolutely dominated the Eredivisie this season. Top for all the dribbling, top for all the chance creation, top as well for the good quality chance he does get in his shooting. So this is a top talent I think we're talking about, and I think he's one who's really starting to explode this season for PSV. And I do think he's one who's highly sought after. A lot of top clubs are looking at him. I think he's one that he should be near the top of our list, I think. Yeah,
absolutely agree. And I've been going on about him all season, and we have to be going for him, and I think he can play on both wings as well, if I'm correct. So top talent is Johan Bakayoko. Next up, we're going to be talking about Michael Olise of Crystal Palace, 22 years of age, 15 million market value. Everyone knows the supreme ability that he does have. He's also, he was smashing it last year. He's smashing it again this year when he is fit and can get on the pitch. But I heard Fabrizio Romano talking, and he said that he's most likely going to be going to Chelsea or Manchester United this summer. But if he is linked with those two clubs, there's no reason why we can't muscle our way in as well.
We should definitely make our case, because I think he's an absolute no-brainer, one of the top talents in Europe, in my opinion. I think he's a real example of the value you can find in the Championship, and why Palace are so good at recruiting from the Championship, because he's come into the Premier League, and I think he's been an absolute star. I think his dribbling ability is second to none, but he's got unbelievable effort as well. You see the way he takes free kicks. He can score from range as well. I think he's a supreme talent and a star in the making. How he profiles, no surprise. Profiles extremely well, especially playing in a Palace team that for a lot under Roy Hodgson are quite a defensive team. Yeah, he does get him on the action in all these kind of metrics. An unbelievable dribbler, creates so many chances, and also outperforms his XG regularly because of his quality. I think can go on the outside and on the inside. Obviously, he's quite left-footed, but not scared to go on the outside and trick a fullback in that way as well. Obviously, this as well is his profile in the Premier League, so no doubts about whether he can do it in that league. he's an absolute no-brainer. I think it's one of the, although the only caveat is doesn't have the best injury record, so I guess that's a caveat, but it's one of those where you kind of put your money where your mouth is if he's available, in my opinion.
Yeah, the injury record does worry me, but the numbers this season, he's got on the pitch 19 times this season and got 16 goal contributions. Mm-hmm. That is monstrous numbers for someone playing in a Palace shirt as well. So any player, any team that get him is going to be a very lucky team. Really is, really are. So next up, we're going to talk about Matías Soulé. Has played on loan from Juventus this season at Frosinone, and he's going back to Juventus, so I'm sure Thiago Motta will want to keep him with the talent that he does have. 21 years of age, 25 million market value. A very tricky customer, isn't he?
Yeah. The only problem is, again, there's a few question marks over his physicality.
Yeah.
Playing in Serie A is a bit different. He does lack a bit physically, I feel, but he does have really great pace. He's really fast and got a really great left foot. Got a lot of quality in there. His profile is pretty strong as well. Pretty decent at dribbles. Ball carrying isn't the strongest, but his dribbling is really good. Creates a lot of chances. You can see also he's playing in a team who aren't the best in Serie A as well, so you have to caveat that he's playing in quite a weak team and overperforming as well. Been carrying them a lot of this season. 11 goals, 3 assists over the season. Still, fairly young, 21 years of age, an Argentinian player. I think he's played really well this season for Frosinone. But again, it's a question mark whether he's suited to the Premier League and whether Juve are going to want to keep him.
Yeah, I mean, we do talk about his physicality, but if you're that good in terms of your technical ability, you can counteract that sometimes. And I feel like this guy could be one of those. And it's not like Serie A is the most least physical league anyway. It's quite a physical league, the Serie A, and he's got 11 goals this year in a struggling team that look like they're going to be going down this season. So I think this could be one. Yeah, maybe his physicality is not the best, but he's got the technical ability to maybe override that.
Yeah, I think he does.
Next up, we are going to look at Marcus Edwards, Spurs Academy product, 25 years of age, 25 million market value, currently plying his trade at Sporting Lisbon this year. We saw firsthand what he can do against an English side in us. He scored a great goal, didn't he, last year against us in the was it Champions League? In the Champions League in his homecoming to Tottenham. He has been doing really well in Sporting Lisbon. He's kind of been making his way since Pochettino let him go because of attitude problems and stuff like that. He was like the darling of the Spurs Academy at the time, and everyone was calling him, I think Pochettino called him Mini Messi and all this kind of stuff. So his technical ability is unbelievable, but there were question marks over the attitude problems. He has seemed to seemingly put that to bed since moving to Portugal and built himself through the ranks there, starting off at a kind of not the best team in Serie A in the Portuguese league, and now at Sporting Lisbon.
Yeah, he's obviously not the youngest anymore. He's now 25 years of age, so he's obviously should be coming into the prime of his career. He's also a player. He's English and as well
club grown,
and potentially Tottenham could take advantage of some sort of buyback clause, but they have some sort of clause they can take advantage of.
We've got a sell-on fee. Yeah, we've got a sell-on percentage.
So that could maybe make that cheaper. In terms of the goal contributions, it's only 8 goal contributions this season in 26 games. So it's not like the most impressive numbers. But I think, obviously, you can see him on the pitch. He's constantly a threat and obviously profiles really strongly, as you can see here, near the top of the metrics on every single metric you could see. Obviously has a really good left foot, good from striking from range, a really good dribbler, low centre of gravity. Again, similar to Soulé, maybe a few question marks over his physical profile because he's quite lightweight. But I do think that his low centre of gravity works in his favour. And obviously, if we're looking at underlying metrics, those are definitely metrics where that could play into his hand. So I do wonder if we'll look at that and think, is it worth taking a punt on bringing him back?
Yeah, what would you think? Do you think it's worth taking a punt? I'm not too sure, to be honest. I do feel like when we're trying to sign targets, they should be a bit better than Marcus Edwards at this stage.
I think there are definitely better options on the list. The only problem is the 100%. In terms of profile, your profile's one of the strongest, but in terms of the strong profiles like Bakayoko and Olise, I'd want them, but are they unrealistic? That's the only question. But Edwards at 25, he's only got 8 goal contributions this season, so I would want a bit more from that in the Portuguese league, especially for a team like Sporting who've dominated this season.
To be fair, though, Sporting do play a different system to what we play. They play like a wing-back, 5 at the back system.
So maybe
that's
plays
also
into-
something to note.
Yeah, that's also true. It would be interesting if they were to bring him back. Maybe they see a bit more in him. I'll probably think there's too much risk, but it would be interesting if they decided to pull the trigger on it.
And last but not least, we're going to talk about Raphinha of Barcelona, someone that Spurs have been heavily linked with over the past year. 27 years of age, 15 million euro market value. He's a player that, in my opinion, has got supreme ability, showed it for Leeds in the Premier League. And the second half of this season, Barcelona has gone really well. You saw in the Champions League as well, before they got knocked out, had a really good 2 legs against PSG in the quarterfinals where he scored in both legs. And in La Liga as well, he's been doing really well of late.
Yeah, and as you say, it took him a while to really find his feet at Barcelona, but in the past few months, especially in the Champions League, he's performing really, really strongly and maybe starting to show what he's all about. We know in the Premier League he can play in there. He's kind of, again, he got a good physical profile, doesn't get bullied off the ball. He's actually quite strong, so he's not so lightweight. Got a brilliant left foot, quite a good goal scorer. For Barcelona, been playing quite well, can play on the left or the right as well. So I do think that plays into his favour.
Seems to be a better assister for Barcelona than a goal scorer.
And you look at his profile, dribbling doesn't perform very well, actually. So that's quite interesting. You thought maybe he's a better dribbler than what his stats suggest. Obviously, his key passes and chance creation, we know he's got a brilliant left foot. When he picks out a pass, usually finds its target. Obviously, he's got a really good strike on him. We've seen him, he can take free kicks, he can shoot from range, does get in the box as well. So I do think he would be a good option. We know he's really good quality. We know in the Premier League he's proven as well, can get goals in that league. I definitely think he would be definitely of interest, I would say.
28 games this season, Barca colours in the league, 6 goals, 9 assists. In the Champions League, 7 games, 3 goals, 4 assists. So in the league, it's not the strongest numbers, but in the Champions League, really strong numbers.
Yeah,
really
good
strong.
in the double leg against PSG. I remember when they unfortunately got knocked out, but he was brilliant in both legs. So
Yes.
yeah, I think he's a good option, and we know again he played really well for Leeds. But obviously, if they want to sell him, I wonder if we can get a good deal. They signed him for 50 million or 45 million. Was very close to joining, I think, Arsenal at the time or Chelsea, and rejected them. So I wonder if he's available and he'd be willing to move. Obviously, they're about to appoint a new manager.
Yeah, and with Yamal there on the right wing, you know, he is like the up-and-coming thing. He's unbelievable. And does Raphinha want to go somewhere where he's going to be starting week in, week out? Because Yamal is going to be, you know, the future of Barcelona, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. So it's going to be very tough to oust him. Although he's still young. He's still 16. So whether they feel like he can still... I know he's had an unbelievable season, but with young players, there's always dips, isn't there? There's always a bit of inconsistency. So maybe they'll want Raphinha there just in case when Yamal dips a bit.
Yeah. So in terms of those players, my favoured options would probably be Bakayoko. I would like Gnonto as well. I like the physical presence that he has and the ability that he has. But I think my number one would be Johan Bakayoko out of everyone out of that list.
I think if I had the choice of anyone, probably Olise, and then Bakayoko, and then probably Raphinha would be my top 3.
Yeah. The reason I didn't say Olise, I just don't feel like we'd be in for him or even go for him just because of he's got a release clause of 60 million, so he's going to have the choice of let's say Man United and Chelsea at this stage in time, and I just feel like they'll just blow us out the water in terms of wages, and it's pretty much a no-go.
Yeah, but I'll just assume that knowing Tottenham, we don't usually get into bidding wars.
So Bakayoko for me should be that. I think he could be attainable. I don't see the reason why not. Someone coming out of the Dutch league, someone that we can definitely offer a massive increase in his wages, and probably a fee that we can afford as well. So I think we should go all out for Johan Bakayoko this summer. But let us know your opinions. Who would you like to see us bring in on the right wing? If we haven't mentioned the player that you want, let us know in the comment section below. But thank you everyone for joining us today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.